Now, we could continue with this great lecture, but who really wants to? We're going to go straight into Edge Animate and try and do some things. Now, what we're going to do is start playing around with some timeline stuff that we can do, playing the timeline forward and backward. So we're going to begin by just creating a really simple rectangle. And this rectangle is going to be kind of this spinning object that we have here in this particular file. So what I want to do is go ahead and convert this to a symbol, because I know that it's going to be inside this symbol that I want it to spin. Then I'm going to double click on it and go out to about 2 seconds. Actually, I should make one here to begin with. So you select the object, and at the very beginning I'm going to go ahead and create a keyframe for the rotation. Then I'm going to jump out to 2 seconds and change the rotation to 360 degrees. Now, do be aware that you want to click off the auto keyframe and even the auto transition mode, just in case. Although you can kind of leave that one on for when you create manual keyframes, but you don't want the auto keyframes on when you're just doing general work in Edge Animate. Anyway, you'll see that we have something that just kind of animates. And when it gets to this 2 seconds, you'll see that it stops. And that's something that's going to be important as we take a look at this. Now on the main timeline, as we scrub the main timeline, you'll be able to see that we can see that particular object spinning. And that works kind of like if you were used to Flash, like a movie clip. I'm sorry, like a graphic symbol. I'm going to duplicate this. So I just did Control D to make a quick duplicate of it. And with this particular one, I'm going to actually change the playback and play it in reverse. So now you'll see I have that one playing in reverse from the other one, which is kind of cool. And now I'm going to make a quick copy of that one as well, duplicate, and take it over to the far right. And this one, I'm not even going to have it play at all. I'm going to have it, whoops, let's go ahead and take that off. Stop. Well, that's interesting. It's like it doesn't want to apply it now. Interesting. Well, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that you could actually really do that. Now it will allow me to stop it. Take that back. Interesting. Well, look at that. There's some stuff that even I'm still learning about this particular tool. So once you have these particular items here, you can actually double click on them or right click on them, double click on them, and you can change them to what you want, which is kind of cool. So it can be stopped, and then you can tell it to play at another time. But I want mine stopped, and I want this all the way back to the beginning. So here's what we get. We've got 2 playing, and then they're all stopped at the end here. Now, I'm going to go inside of this, and the reason why is because at the end of this, I'd like to create a trigger, and this trigger is going to tell it to continue to play. Now, I can use the pick an action, hit play, and then double click on the spinner, or I could just type out sim.play, which means the current timeline, go ahead and play it. And what this means is that it will get to the end of this timeline, and it will tell it to keep on looping back and play it again. So now if we test our movie with Control Enter, you'll see what's going on. Now notice that the first one just continues to spin, and the second one, which was going backwards, doesn't. The reason that the other one doesn't go forward, is because we actually have it starting up here and going backward. And so it gets to the beginning, and there's not a trigger there that tells it to keep on playing. If we wanted that, then we would have to create yet another one and do sym.play or something like that. Now you'll see that one should continue as well. Well, look at that, doesn't want to. Probably doesn't want to because we're playing in reverse, and so it doesn't really know what that means. We would have to continue it playing in reverse, I think, to get that to work. Anyway, I'm going to take that off. Now the first one is moving, and these two stop at some point. So what I'd really like to do is have them play. So I'm going to create quick little buttons here. And the first one is going to be a stop button. So that should probably be kind of a reddish color. Maybe not quite that red. So I'm going to create a quick little button there. And I'm going to give it some text. And I like the fact that you can stretch text across. I'll call that stop. And then you just go ahead and center it right within there. And I'll change it to white. I think that makes sense for a stop. Now that I can have that graphic there, I can right click, select both, I guess, and then right click and choose convert to symbol. And let's call this the stop underscore btn. Now, inside this, I've got some issues, but let's just take a quick look. Here's the button, and you'll see that as I hover over it, I get this, the text selector tool, the iframe, and I really don't want that I indicator. So one way I might try and battle it is changing the cursor, but I know that doesn't work. So there's an old fix that I think is a really nice one, and that is what's called an invisible button, or invisible object on top. I call it an invisible button, and it's an old one from Flash. What you do is you draw a rectangle on top and change its opacity down to 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and call that inv underscore btn so that I know exactly what it is, and I like to lock it so that you can't interact with it. Oh, before I lock it though, I want to select it, and I want to change the cursor to the pointer. Then you lock it. Now the point of this is that the invisible button on top will capture the mouse event, like the hover event, and you won't be able to click on the text. You can still select the text there if you're careful, but you have to do it from outside the object, so that works pretty well. Now on the main timeline, we're also going to create a couple more play buttons. So I'm going to create a quick play button here. That one is going to be more of a green color. Not the most attractive button ever in the world, but who cares? There we go. Seems to be that I've got some lowercase, uppercase stuff going on. There we go. Now I'm going to select both, right click, choose convert to symbol, and this will be the play underscore btn. Alright. Now with this one selected, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, or I'm going to go inside of it and do the same thing that I did before, which is give it some sort of invisible button on the top, change its opacity to 0, double click on it, call it inv underscore btn, which is fine. And by the way, since these are encapsulated within symbols, I can name the objects, it seems, the exact same item, which works. I guess you can do that with rectangles, but you can't do it with text items or something like that. Something definitely to check out in Edge. So I've got the invisible button there. I can go ahead and lock it and get back out. Now I'm going to duplicate this particular symbol with Control D, because I know that I'm going to want more than one copy of this symbol. So let's see once again what we have. We have the two playing, and I believe that the first one just continues to go on and on and on. And on this one, we're going to want to play this thing backwards, and on this one, we're going to want it to just play to begin with. So on the first one, we're going to go ahead and stop this timeline. Now this timeline is called spinner. Then we have spinner copy and spinner copy 2. Not the most elegant names ever in the world, so we could always, of course, change this to like spinner 1. I'll call it spinner 2. I'll call that one spinner 1. And then spinner 3. And that kind of works. Excellent. Now, with this stop button selected, we know that we are going to be stopping spinner 1. So let's go ahead and add an action to it. You can do it here on the left hand side, or you can right click on the object itself and choose Open Actions for Stop button. Now what we're going to do is set it up so that when we click, we are going to play back and we are going to stop on the stage. We are going to stop spinner 1. Now you can see that we're kind of getting there. We've got this gray text that's appearing, but it doesn't actually apply it until we double click. Now you'll see here's our what we're doing. We're getting the main timeline. We're finding the symbol that's called spinner 1 that's on the main timeline, and we are stopping its timeline. Then let's take a look at the play. Actually, I'm going to jump over to this one because this one has it just stopping normally, not actually playing in reverse. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Open Actions, go to Click, Playback, Play, Stage, Spinner 3. And so you double click there. On this one, because this item is playing backwards, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to right click, choose Open Actions, go to our Click, Playback, and this one we're going to play reverse. And that will be spinner 2. So hopefully what will happen is this will make it play backwards after. So if we hit play, whoop, look at that. It's going forwards instead of backwards. Stop and play. Well, look at that. Oh, of course, it's going in reverse because it's just going in reverse of whatever it currently is. Well, there you go. That's kind of fun. Now, obviously, one of the things I did not do on this invisible button, at least on my version of it, is I did not change the cursor. Shame on me. But there's some basics of just playing and stopping timelines, just having fun with them. And so we're going to go ahead and save this work out so we can go on to the next task. And we'll just call this one Save As. Oh, let's see, where am I saving this? Edge Toots 2. And this is going to be Timelines. Call that Timelines. So a really quick thing to do there. And let's go on to the next tutorial.